So I want to talk about spirit of the game, and really what I want to talk about is what I think spirit of the game is, how I think you can have better spirit, ways that you can learn the rules better, ways you can have good discussions. Just I want to touch on all those points, and then I'm going to have later videos that kind of go more in detail on some of the specific points. But just very quickly, to me, spirit of the game means having the ability to know the rules, so really respecting the game, respecting the other team, and then respecting your own team. So when you're on the field, being accountable to yourself, being accountable to other players, to me I find that especially important in co-ed, because men are generally bigger than women, and so it's very, very important for men to know, just be aware where they are on the field, and just make sure to be safe, right? We don't want to have people getting hurt just because people aren't paying attention, so I think that's very important. But, so just kind of touching on the point of knowing the rules and those kind of things, it doesn't mean just reading the rules and knowing what the actual rule says, knowing the definition, but it's knowing how to apply that to the game. And so I think that's very, very important, especially at the higher levels. There's more on the line. You know, Canadian championships, UK championships, worlds, those kind of things. Knowing the rules, knowing how to discuss the rules with the other team is very important when you get into those situations. And so it's very important to know how to apply the rule to whatever situation you're in. So if I foul somebody else, we should have that discussion. And so part of having spirit is being open to having a discussion with the other team. So it doesn't mean you stand on the field and talk for 10 minutes, but it does mean that you stand and you say what you think happened, they say what they think happened, you apply the rule to that situation, and then sort of figure out what should happen. And if you can't reach a consensus, it goes back to the thrower or whatever the rule says. By default, that's what happens. So I've seen a lot of people, and I've been guilty of it before too, but I've seen people where they get in a discussion and they're not open to having a discussion with the other person at all, and completely close off, and they just say, no, this is what it is, I can test, that's it. But have that discussion. You know, there's a chance you might be wrong. And I've seen it many times where someone made a call that really wasn't the best call, but because they thought they were right, they didn't have a discussion. The call stood as it was, and there just was some bad blood on the field, and you really don't want that to happen at all. And so really be open to having a discussion with the other team. And part of that comes from knowing the rules, knowing what the rules mean and how to apply that in the game. I kind of laugh because I wrote down here not intentionally fouling, and I've intentionally fouled people before. I'm not saying I'm proud of it, I'm not saying it was the right thing to do, but at the time, it's like in hockey when someone's on a breakaway. You know, you're going to hook them because you at least take away that chance. But in hockey, you know, they have a penalty shot, and ultimate don't really have that. You just kind of can call a foul. So it has its place, especially at the higher levels. You see it more with teams. You know, someone goes to huck and someone dives in or bumps him or hugs him kind of thing, or grabs it, just things like that. Yeah, okay, that happens. It's not something that people make a habit of. And especially at the lower levels, there's really no place for intentional fouling at all. And, I mean, it is a part of the rules. A foul is in the rule book, and so when you foul somebody, there's rules as to what happens. You know, it's not that it's not allowed, it's just when it happens, you make the call, and then there's the rules that dictate what happens from there. So just really be aware of where you're on the field at all times. Like I mentioned earlier, especially with co-ed, and intentionally fouling, try not to do it. If it happens, it happens, but just try not to do it on purpose. One big thing I find is keeping your cool and just trying to be calm. So when we play other sports, when we play hockey, soccer, basketball, those kind of things, there's a referee, there's someone governing it, so we can get mad at that person. You can really see some temper start to go because you can kind of blame it on this impartial third party. Whereas in Ultimate, there's no officials in most games, and so what happens is you don't want to get in a shouting match with the other team or with your own players. So just understand what happened, realize it's not the end of the world. You know, if you made the call and the other person starts screaming, you just say, listen, let's just have this discussion. If someone makes a bad call to you, don't start screaming to them. Just try and be calm, have that discussion with them, and that's sort of the core element of spirit, is respecting the other team and knowing the rules enough to respect them, to have those discussions and those kind of things. So just keep your cool on the field, and it'll make for a more enjoyable game. So you know, you don't want to hold hold it against the other team. You don't want to hold it against your own players. Just respect the other team. And then, kind of the last point I wrote down is all about cheers. And so when I first started playing Ultimate at the quad levels, cheers were a big thing. We'd sit down, we'd come up with, Eye of the Tiger would be sort of the tune that we do, and then we'd write an Ultimate song to it. So I'm not going to sing for you, but you kind of get the idea that you write an Ultimate song, to the tune of Eye of the Tiger, whatever people sing, clap and cheer. That's cool. So it's a fun thing to do after the game. Other people will play games, drinking games, banana boat races. I've seen many, many, many different games, and they're fun things to do, but realize that does not determine spirit. Absolutely does not determine spirit. What determines spirit is what happens on the field between the teams. What happens after the game, that's whatever you want it to be. You do a cheer. I've seen some very crazy things from other teams with a castle. Get to storm the castle and save the princess, those kind of things, and it's hilarious. But that does not mean that they have good spirit. That just means that they can come up with a fun, creative game. So, in tournaments, some teams, will have low spirit scores, but a good record, and then later on, as the tournament goes on, that spirit score will hurt them. Because sometimes tournament directors use spirit scores for tiebreakers. In League, that happens a lot. They use spirit scores. So, respect the other team on the field, and when you're giving spirit scores, really look at that. Did they know the rules, those kind of things. I think that's a very important point to realize, that you can have a great cheer after the game, but that doesn't make up for, not knowing the rules and being ignorant and being rude and just being, a bad team to play against. So really keep it on the field, really focus hard on having a good game, and then whatever you want to do after the game, that's your own prerogative, but don't determine spirit. Don't think that a good cheer will negate everything that happened in the game. So that's just a little introduction to spirit of the game. I will have some videos coming out later on that will go deeper into certain rules that you should know, or rules that are difficult, ways that you can learn the rules better, and just sort of how to have those discussions. So I will have more videos coming out, and I thank everyone for all your comments so far. It's been awesome, and so just keep the comments and emails coming. Let me know what videos you want me to do, and I'll catch you later.